when it comes to the forces of darkness, totalitarianism, does that energy in itself eventually collapse upon itself? Does there need to be considerable effort from those on human nature to go into the light, or will the darkness eventually collapse upon itself and get us there eventually without even any effort from the light?
The light is already here. The light is operating. This is like a play. And if you go back to the ancient Greeks, they created theater based on the understanding that time is a circle. It's not linear. It's not a straight line. And that circle is divided into 4 basic quadrants. Each quadrant in the Indian terms is called a yuga. But you could call it an age. And they called it the golden age, the silver, the copper, and the iron. And there's a final 5th age, a little sliver of age in which everyone awakens, who is a seeker of the light, and returns to the light while they're alive within the iron age and redreams the world. And so a new golden age begins and the cycle starts over again, but in a more beautiful, infinitely beautiful divine world. So we are in that point where we can achieve that change very easily. But we have to realize that this entire cycle is something we have gone through and we must complete. But you see, the human beings today have amnesia for all of the other yugas, all of the other ages. There's hardly any memory left of even the copper age, let alone the silver or the last golden age. They're there in myths and legends, but they're confused. They're not the same as having histories. And because we have forgotten that, we have forgotten and lost touch with our inherent powers of consciousness that we have allowed to atrophy. You see, it used to be that we had powers of, for example, telepathy, and we could connect with everybody. We didn't need iPhones or any of that. We've put all of those powers into technology. We have to take them back and realize that they are soul powers that we've projected into machines. We don't need the machines. We can even bilocate. We can be anywhere we want in the universe because pure consciousness is in a quantum entangled field, and we are both everywhere and nowhere. And so we can make our world anything we want. We have such tremendous powers of consciousness that once we reactivate them from their current latent atrophied condition, we become literally as gods, which is how we are intended to live. And that's the power we have to gain. And then there can be no resistance from these evil fools who tend to control us only because they have technology that has been given to them by spirit. Once we withdraw that, the technology won't work anymore. It will collapse. And only the power of goodness that comes from the light, from the spirit, will dominate, will prevail and be victorious over the evil. And then the new world will come into being effortlessly.
I'd love to see that happen sooner.
You will see it happen.
I definitely want to see it happen. I worry about the fact that so many kids in this world, especially in the U.S., they are completely indoctrinated in the point where I feel like when I was growing up, I know that the school system was changing, but I always knew it was being controlled. But now the kids today, they're not even being taught, if they're male or female. There's just so much confusion. And I wonder, because those kids are being affected by it, I imagine that's going to be at least 20 or 30 years.
No.
Then it's, I just wonder how the shift is going to change. And I always wonder too, when things balance out, will there be a divine retribution against the darkness, or does the darkness kind of go quietly into the night when people are no longer focusing their point of attraction on that? Like, does the darkness lose its ability to be fearful, to be controlling when people no longer give it attention? Or is there kind of like a divine being within Source's mind that comes in and kind of knocks it down like a bowling ball to pins?
It's something like that. When you leave the body, you don't just go straight to the light, especially if you've done a lot of evil things and you have a lot of bad karma. You go into what the Tibetan Buddhists call a bardo state, where you meet up with some very wrathful deities, and they settle the score with you. So, yeah, you don't get away scot-free with mistreating other people, especially not children. And you wouldn't want to know what goes on in those bardo states. But the Tibetans describe them of having your skin flayed off and a real horrible suffering of those who have done these terrible things. So, no, karma balances out, and there is justice and fairness in the world. But the court of final judgment tends to happen after the death of the body, not in it. However, the karma that the world is going through right now that looks so terrible is actually the settling of all of our own sense of guilt and sinfulness from past lives. And so what looks like suffering from outside actually can bring a person to a state of peace. And when they die, when they leave the body and they have settled their karma because they haven't fallen into the evil things, they go, as you saw from those past life regression or near-death experiencers, they go into the light, and there is forgiveness, and there is grace, and there is peace, and there is understanding of why all this had to happen. And one realizes the perfection of it, that it's not the way it looks from the ego place, like evil has taken over and it's unfair. No, it's not really like that. But we have to learn from this. We are all accomplices in the world's having become a hell realm, and everyone must take responsibility for their part in it and become divinized so that we no longer co-create a hell. And when we are partly creating a heavenly realm, even while the hell is still there, the hell realm changes, and the powers of goodness become manifest. And this is what is going to be happening in the near future. And I don't think we have 20 or 30 years left. You know, the giving of the lethal injections and the deception around all of that was an intention to kill their own population by the governments. Since they couldn't accomplish that, now they're going into engineered food shortages and famine and freezing, because like in Europe and other places, refusing to buy the gas and oil from Russia, etc., they're causing their own populations to die very quickly. And then they're going to bring on nuclear war. All of this is going to end the world very quickly and very soon. And so the suffering will not last very long. And although that might seem like a horrific idea, when you understand that everyone's consciousness is going to be drawn back into the Godhead in order for a new dream, a new world to come into being, then you realize the blessing of all of this. That it's like the world is terminally ill and suffering, and God is creating euthanasia, is ending that suffering as rapidly as possible, using these means that the evil people think they're controlling, but they're actually serving ultimate goodness without realizing it.